Discover the 8 amazing collagen snacks that transform weak legs and tingling hands into strength. The diner buzzed with the familiar sounds of clattering dishes and eager chatter. Sarah, at 34, felt the weight of each plate. She hurried to the tables. Her legs ached, and the tingling in her hands had transformed from a minor annoyance into a constant reminder of her exhaustion. Each shift stretched her thin, and like clockwork, doubts crept in. How was she, a single mother with a rebellious teenage daughter, meant to keep going? The reality pressed heavier every day, the same unrelenting cycle of work and worry stealing her breath. As she leaned against the counter, scrolling through her phone, her gaze landed on a flashy article titled "Promising Rejuvenation Through Collagen Snacks. Transform Weak Legs and Tingling Hands into Strength." It exclaimed. A flicker of hope ignited within her, even as skepticism curled around her heart. What had her mother taught her about remedies? It was always conventional medicine, never the latest trending solution on the internet. The home remedy jars lined the kitchen, full of unspoken beliefs her mother firmly upheld. Sarah hesitated. Could these snacks truly help her feel better? Or would they add yet another layer of pressure to her already strained existence? She felt the tug of dreams for a better life for Emma, but already, exhaustion clouded her thoughts. She needed strength not just for herself, but for her daughter who the whole town warned was headed down a wrong path. Emma's spirit flickered between brilliance and rebellion, and Sarah feared she may be losing her grip on both her daughter and her own integrity. Over the next few days, Sarah embarked on her tentative collagen-infused journey. Initially, the spark of energy felt exhilarating, like the first ray of sunshine in a prolonged winter. Yet, as her body began to respond, tension frayed the delicate bond with Emma. "Why are you eating that weird stuff, Mom? It's so not you," Emma snapped one evening. That accusation hit harder than a plate dropping to the floor. The divide between them grew clearer. A chasm formed from her desire to take charge of her life and her daughter's perception of that change. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As financial troubles began to surface, bills she couldn't pay became giants, overshadowing her small victories. A sudden spike in expenses threatened her fragile dream of stability, pushing her to the edge where despair felt omnipresent. Conversations with her mother grew strained, her traditional beliefs clashing with Sarah's attempts at taking unconventional routes for health. "This isn't how we do things," her mother would scold, and with each reprimand, the sting of disappointment solidified in Sarah's chest. Every moment, she found herself caught in the storm of her reality, crushed by bills and the judgmental whispers that echoed around the diner. Would anyone understand? This wasn't just a fad. It was her attempt to reclaim control over her body and life. But doubts loomed larger, and she questioned whether she'd ever muster the courage to defend her choices against those who saw her as foolish. In the flickering dimness of the diner, Sarah stood at a critical junction. One breath away from confronting her mother and facing her life's dualities, she felt an insatiable pressure to decide who she would be in that moment. The stakes rose higher, the noise of expectations and fears swirling around her like a tempest, compelling her to awaken to grapple not just with her own truth, but with the current of judgment she could no longer ignore. Would she confront everything she had known and step into the unknown? As those thoughts lingered, the tension left her frozen, heartsick, teetering on the precipice of transformation. The shift had always been a whirlwind of energy, filled with the vibrant sounds of laughter and food orders echoing against the walls. But today, amid the hustle and bustle, Sarah felt like a ghost hovering between two worlds. Each smile from the regular patrons felt insincere, a stark reminder of the facade she had maintained for too long. Ignoring the ache in her legs, she forced herself to focus on the orders, yet the fleeting joy of her rejuvenating snacks seemed overshadowed by the weight of her obligations. Emma's earlier rebuke replayed in her mind, punctuating her growing frustration. Who was she if not her daughter's mother? Wasn't she allowed to evolve, to seek strength in alternate paths? A mix of anger and sadness churned in her, mingled with uncertainty about balancing her own aspirations and retaining her daughter's respect. That evening, as she rushed home from the diner, Sarah made a decision. Change couldn't only come through what she consumed, but through how she communicated her intentions. Maybe Emma deserved more than just words. She needed an invitation into the journey, a way to understand why this was so crucial for Sarah. The anticipation of that forthcoming conversation made her nerves tingle sharper than the ache in her hands, igniting the first flicker of courage in her weary heart. As she entered the house, the familiar smell of macaroni and cheese wafted through the air, and Emma sat at the table, headphones on, lost in her world. Taking a deep breath, Sarah set her backpack down quietly, making sure to appear calm, though her pulse raced wildly. She moved to the kitchen, accommodating the rhythmic clicks of the stove. "Hey, Emma," she called out softly. No response. She tried again, louder, but only got further silence. Sarah's heart sank, a familiar sensation of being sidelined in her daughter's life blossomed. Feeling the gravitational pull of her protective instincts, Sarah made an impulsive choice. She retrieved the collagen snacks, placing them deliberately on the table. "I want to talk about something that matters to me," she said, her voice firm despite the nervous fluttering inside. With a reluctant sigh, Emma pulled off the headphones. "Is this about that weird health kick again?" "No," Sarah replied, irritated but also aware that this was precisely her chance to engage. "It's about feeling better, not just physically, but emotionally too. I need you to know why these changes are important." With confusion swirling in her eyes, Emma leaned in. "You're scaring me, Mom. I don't get why you have to change so much. What is wrong with who you are?" The words struck Sarah like a blow. They echoed her own fears. But this was the moment she'd been preparing herself for, to break down barriers, to share her vulnerability. "I'm not changing to be someone else, Emma. I'm changing to be better for you. For myself. The pain, the tingling, it's real. I cannot keep pushing through without finding a new way to feel strong." Emma studied her, the defiance in her posture shifting into something softer, perhaps even curious. But what if it doesn't work? That question loomed large, but it pulled Sarah deeper into her resolve. What if it does? What if I could show you that it's okay to seek help and change? There was vulnerability in her voice, threading an intimacy between them both. As Emma lowered her gaze, the tension in the air began to transform. Sarcasm dipped into curiosity, and Sarah felt the tide shift. Perhaps they wouldn't only battle against each other, but instead confront shared struggles. However, the conversation hung suspended, as uncertainties about financial woes loomed on one side, and an urge to move forward hung heavy on the other. Would Emma embrace her mother's transformation, or would this reveal yet another distance between them? Their eyes met, an invitation hanging in the air like the taste of potential. The time had come for them both to face what change meant, not just for Sarah, but for the future they would navigate together. Could they emerge stronger as a united front, or would the path they tread lead them toward deeper divides? In that moment, standing amidst the tension, Sarah realized this was just the beginning of a greater challenge. As she sought to champion her own strength, she felt the pressing urge to keep her daughter close. But would Emma accept the invitation to join her on this journey, or would she remain tethered to the notion of the past? As those thoughts permeated the air, Sarah braced herself for the unfolding tempest, teetering on the edge of what was to come next. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken concerns. Sarah watched as a mix of emotions played across Emma's face, caught between confusion and a sliver of understanding. It had taken so long to muster the courage for this moment, and now that it was upon them, uncertainty loomed heavily. What happened next would determine the trajectory of their relationship. Would they navigate this storm, or would they be swept apart? "Mom, I don't want you to change," Emma finally said, her words laced with apprehension. "What if you're not who you were anymore?" That question hit Sarah harder than any physical blow. Did she even know who she was outside of motherhood? The idea of transformation, though enticing, pulled at her identity like a tugging thread. It was reminiscent of that feeling just before a significant life decision. A cocktail of fear and exhilaration swirled within her. "I get that you're worried," Sarah replied, choosing her words carefully. But think about this. Isn't it more concerning if I stay the same, trapped and unable to give you what you truly need? I want to guide you to make empowered choices, just like I'm trying to do for myself. For a moment, Emma seemed to ponder Sarah's words. There was a vulnerability, a hesitation that suggested her daughter was beginning to shed some of the barriers she had erected. Okay, I guess that makes sense. But Emma paused, her brow furrowing as she searched for the right words. What if this doesn't work out? What if it goes badly, and you can't come back from it? There it was, the nagging fear of failure that Sarah had wrestled with since embarking on this path. It was hard to deny that possibility, the haunting specter flickering in her peripheral vision. Sarah took a breath, integrating that doubt into her resolve instead of shying away. Then I'll learn from it, she said slowly. Change is never a straight path. It's usually messy and complicated. But what I can promise you is that I'll be more equipped to handle whatever comes our way. I want you to see that growth is part of life, even if it feels uncomfortable. Emma's expression softened, her defenses lowering just a fraction. Sarah sensed an opening, a potential for connection that seemed worth pursuing. Perhaps the two of them could embark on this journey together instead of walking separate paths. Let us start with something small, Sarah suggested, tapping her fingertips nervously against the table. How about we make it a ritual to fix more meals together? We could try new recipes with the collagen snacks. It might be fun, and I want you by my side. The corners of Emma's mouth twitched into a small smile. Mom, we both know you can't even boil water without burning it. Exactly, Sarah laughed, her spirits slightly lifted. And who better to mentor me than my own expert chef? Just think we can discover what works for us, and maybe even grow together along the way. Emma's gaze lingered on her mother, as if weighing the sincerity behind the invitation. Finally, she lowered her elbows to the table, adopting a more engaged posture. All right, but if we burn something, I'm blaming you. As Emma chuckled, tension melted a little more, and Sarah's heart beat with a cautious hope. They had begun to bridge the distance, small as it was. This shift felt monumental. It signaled a commitment, a promise to explore a new reality together. Yet, deep down, Sarah still questioned if this was truly enough. The specter of financial stress gnawed at her, adding a layer of complexity to their evolving dynamic. Would this effort truly solidify their bond, or would unaddressed fears sabotage each small step they took forward? The kitchen door swung open, a gust of wind carrying in the scent of impending storm. What would happen if they ventured beyond bonding over collagen snacks, confronting their personal challenges head-on? Sarah sensed they were on the precipice of something significant, but the true test lay ahead. With a spark of determination lighting her way, Sarah made a silent vow to herself. She was ready to face whatever obstacles awaited, not just as a mother, but as a woman resiliently seeking her own path, and she hoped Emma would journey alongside her. But as she observed her daughter contemplating the shift, one thought echoed in Sarah's mind. How could they face the financial reality looming over them without losing the progress they had just made? Would they find a strategy together, or would new fears upend the fragile peace they had established? The next morning, Sarah awoke before the sun had a chance to creep over the horizon, the restless thoughts from yesterday flooding back. A mental checklist began forming as she poured herself a cup of coffee, sharp and bitter, mirroring the reality that lay ahead. She needed a strategy not just for herself, but for Emma too. As she sipped, she felt the warmth fill her chest, a flicker of optimism mingled with anxiety. Sitting at the kitchen table, she opened her laptop, determined to investigate potential opportunities for financial improvement. The gentle hum of the device felt reassuring, yet the weight of uncertainty clung to her. With each click of the keyboard, she scoured through articles about budget management and side gigs. She stumbled upon a post titled, "Earning from Home," detailing various ways to net some extra income while balancing her evolving role as a mother. Perhaps she could weave this newfound ambition into their weekly cooking rituals. She envisioned hosting a small online cooking class featuring the collagen snacks she planned to incorporate into their meals. It wasn't just about profits. It was about engagement, interaction, and using her creativity to transform a stressor into an opportunity. There was empowerment in teaching others what she was learning, even if it sounded daunting. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Could she really do this? There was uncertainty, but also a quiet nudge from deep within, a yearning that had surfaced for the first time in years, whispering encouragement. Perhaps Emma could join her in this venture. They could set boundaries, strategize together, and create something meaningful beyond the four walls of their home. What if Emma helped with social media? A quick glance at the clock told her she had missed her window for a quiet moment. Emma would be up soon. The thought triggered a rush of excitement mixed with fear. Would her daughter embrace this idea, or would it scare her back into retreat? Sarah inhaled deeply, steeling herself for the upcoming conversation. As Emma shuffled into the kitchen, still bleary-eyed, Sarah decided to present her concept without filters. "Hey, you know our little kitchen adventures we talked about yesterday?" Emma nodded, her curls bouncing as she poured herself a bowl of cereal. "What if we turn that into something bigger? I was thinking we could host online cooking classes together, focusing on healthy meals and collagen snacks. It could help us financially and keep us connected." Emma paused mid-bite, her expression shifting from confusion to contemplation. "You actually want to teach people how to cook? And use us as the example?" Her tone was laced with incredulity. "Yes," Sarah exclaimed, the enthusiasm swelling in her chest as she explained her vision. "We could prepare recipes live, talk about nutrition, and even bring in some personal anecdotes. It could be fun, and we can do it our way. Think of it as an adventure together." After several moments of silence, Emma placed her spoon down. "It sounds interesting, but what if no one shows up? What if we put it out there and it flops?" Sarah felt the familiar tug of doubt, her own fears resonating in Emma's words. She needed to seize this moment as a teaching opportunity again, to push past fear, as she had encouraged Emma to do before. "What if it turns into something wonderful? We'll have fun doing it together, and that's what matters most. Plus, every failure is a step toward success." Emma's eyes widened as she weighed this possibility. "All right, but it'll be your tutorial, and I'll just stand there while you fumble through it, okay?" A smile broke through, showing the first signs of her interest shifting towards excitement. "Deal." As they began discussing recipes, Sarah's mind buzzed with a new purpose. It wasn't merely about food. It was an opportunity for growth, both together and individually. She pleaded with herself to stay focused on the challenge at hand, while dissecting the financial terrain that lay perilously close. But as the conversation turned light, Sarah felt a creeping anxiety about the underlying financial issues. Would diving headfirst into this endeavor veer them off track if the revenue stream didn't materialize? However, she pushed those thoughts aside for the moment, choosing to bask in the potential ahead. After all, embracing uncertainty was part of their journey. Just then, an email notification popped up, prompting her heart to race. It was a reminder about an upcoming workshop on entrepreneurship for women. Should she attend? Was it a sign that she was meant to pursue this new path? Taking a breath, she pondered the decision ahead, a decision that could either be a stepping stone or a distraction from their progress. And as she opened her laptop to explore more about the workshop, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this venture was only the beginning of discovering how far they could really go together. Sarah's mind raced as she clicked through the workshop's details. It wasn't merely an event. It was a golden ticket, an opportunity to gather knowledge, meet like-minded individuals, and further refine her aspirations. The thought thrilled her, yet the specter of hesitation hovered, whispering doubts about whether she was truly prepared for such a leap. Would the workshop provide insights that could elevate her cooking classes? Could she weave in entrepreneurial elements that might set them apart in a saturated market? The idea of mingling with experienced women, who had once faced similar challenges and fears, stirred a sense of camaraderie she hadn't anticipated. Maybe this was precisely the direction she needed. "Dive in deeper," her inner voice rallied. "You owe it to yourself and Emma." She signed up for the workshop, a small act, yet momentous in her journey. Each keystroke felt like a declaration of defiance against the doubts that had plagued her for years. With the workshop looming, she shifted her focus to the cooking classes. She and Emma had already brainstormed a list of recipes, each one reflecting their new lifestyle. But Sarah knew they needed more than just enticing dishes. They required a plan that would draw interest and engagement. "All right, let us think through the logistics," she proposed one afternoon, tapping her fingers on the kitchen table. "What do we want our first class to look like?" Emma, now more invested in the idea, suggested creating a theme. "How about healthy snacks for after school?" she offered. "That way it's relevant, fun, and we can relate it to some of our favorite activities. Great idea. Sarah beamed, excitement fueling her. And we should think about how to market it. What platform would work best? A short promo video, maybe? Totally. And I can handle the social media stuff. We should also gather some testimonials from friends to build credibility. Emma animatedly sketched notes, her enthusiasm pushing through the lingering apprehension. As they mapped out their plan, Sarah's self-assurance grew. With each strategy they developed, she felt a spark ignite deep within, a sense of ownership over their venture that she hadn't felt in years. They discussed potential names for the class, bantering back and forth, until they settled on Snack Attack with Emma and Sarah. However, the thrill of creation was shadowed by an eerie reminder of her precarious financial situation. The workshop ticket had been an investment, one more step forward, but without revenue, they would have little to show for their efforts. What if it all collapsed like a house of cards? This underlying tension fueled her drive. Everything they crafted was crucial. There was no room for fear now. Balancing possibility with reality was becoming her new mantra. As days passed, Sarah immersed herself in work and preparation, each completed task creating a foundation for success. Yet with every setting sun, doubts crept back in. Would her bold beginning yield the fruits of their labor, or would she have to bury the dream beneath the weight of financial burdens? Then, during a late-night editing session, an unexpected email landed in her inbox. A local bakery had expressed interest in collaborating. The bakery wanted to feature a weekly segment where Sarah's classes would showcase their products. Excitement surged. This could be the exposure they needed, but what if she couldn't deliver? Wrestling with the implications, instinct clashed with self-doubt. Sarah sat in the dim glow of her lamp, tax documents piled on one side, cooking notes on the other. It was time to confront not just the potential of this partnership, but also the deeper fears lying beneath the surface. Sarah knew she had to step up. Determined, she sent a reply, sensing that whatever came next would determine not only the future of her venture, but the evolution of her relationship with Emma too. In that moment, clarity washed over her. Business wasn't just about profit. It was a pathway to self-discovery. And as the proposal began to take shape, a new thought emerged in her mind. The moment had arrived to face the true challenge, the fear that had held her back for so long. What if the bakery was her breakthrough, or perhaps just another hurdle in a long road ahead? With a deep breath, she prepared to engage both with the bakery and with her own hidden capabilities, wrestling not just with opportunity, but with herself. Would she be ready for what lay beyond this pivotal moment? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over her cluttered kitchen, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The collaboration with the bakery was a lifeline, a chance to turn their dreams into reality. But that realization was swiftly tangled with self-doubt. Would she be able to rise to the occasion? Could she push past the years of hesitation that had kept her tethered to mediocrity? She took a deep breath and opened her laptop, fingers poised above the keyboard. It was time to draft a proposal that not only detailed their ideas, but also showcased her vision for the classes. She envisioned a class that wasn't just about cooking. It would be an experience, merging healthful eating with memories and connections, something far richer than mere recipes. Sarah's mind raced as she began to type. Our cooking classes will not only focus on nutritious recipes, but will also incorporate stories around the dishes that resonate with families. It's about creating memories while nourishing our bodies. The ideas flowed as she imaginatively pictured each session, transforming mundane cooking into a celebration of life and health. While focusing on her draft, she allowed herself to reflect on her journey thus far. Each culinary mishap had been a lesson. Each taste test with Emma had brought them closer. There was a rhythm to their collaboration, a synergy that felt both electric and grounded. Seeing Emma's enthusiasm reinforced Sarah's shift in mindset. They weren't just two friends, they were a team. Midway through brainstorming themes for future classes, Sarah's phone pinged. It was a notification from the workshop she had signed up for. Don't miss tomorrow's homework session. The message read, homework. What could that possibly entail? The prospect of preparing for the workshop sent a thrill through her, awakening a sense of accountability. Reflecting on the impending workshop, she felt both excitement and unease bubble within her. This would be her first step into a circle of women who had navigated their own dreams and challenges. Facing them meant confronting not only her aspirations, but the fear of exposure, the fear of being exposed as someone who, despite her preparation, might still falter. Yet, deep in her gut, she felt a flicker of resolve. What if these women were more than critics? Perhaps they would become her mentors or allies. This thought propelled her forward. There was no more room for fear. She envisioned herself standing before them, sharing her vision for Snack Attack with Emma and Sarah with unprecedented clarity and confidence. That night, preparation for the next day stretched late into the evening. She meticulously organized her cooking notes, articulating what differentiated their class from the rest: health, connection, and empathy. After all, were not just exclusive to food. They were fundamental to the human experience. As she turned off the lights and headed to bed, exhaustion washed over her. Yet, her thoughts were restless, replaying the day's accomplishments and the unknowns of tomorrow. She found herself pondering the next step, the workshop looming ahead like an arbor just out of reach. Would she seize this chance to grow and evolve? Or would she tread lightly, stunted by the very fears she was desperate to overcome? In the dim light, her new mantra echoed in her mind. Absorb everything you can, turn it into strength. But what if tomorrow unveiled more than she had prepared for? What if the act of sharing her vision brought forth criticism instead of the support she craved? Sarah knew the answers were closer than they appeared. With determination rekindled, she drifted into sleep, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The next morning would not just be about learning, but about confronting the inner barriers that threatened to keep her from becoming the chef and entrepreneur she envisioned. The moment had come to face what awaited at the workshop, but would she emerge stronger, or would old fears keep her shackled? As dawn broke, its light spilling into the kitchen, Sarah woke up with a palpable mix of anxiety and excitement thrumming beneath her skin. The previous night's mantra echoed in her mind. Absorb everything you can, turn it into strength. She had rehearsed it like an incantation, hoping it would bolster her confidence as she faced a room full of experienced women. After a quick breakfast, she read over her meticulously crafted proposal one last time, her eyes scanning each word. Would it resonate? Would they see the value in her vision? The goal was to create not just classes, but a community woven together by love for food and shared experiences. Each thought flickered with uncertainty, but she clamped down on the urge to edit for the umpteenth time, reminding herself that perfection was not the goal today, growth was. Arriving at the workshop venue, she took a moment to breathe and soak in the atmosphere. Women gathered in clusters, laughter and excited chatter mingling in the air. Each group showcased a vibrant energy, a stark contrast to her internal turmoil. Should she approach one of those groups? Introduce herself? Anxiety tightened her stomach, a shadow lurking where confidence ought to shine. But abandoning that impulse, Sarah walked towards the entrance, a calculated decision that signaled her intention to step out of the shadows. As she scanned the room, she couldn't shake the thought that there were women like her, initially hesitant but bubbling with potential. This shared experience could be transformative, not just for her cooking career, but for personal growth as well. Finding a seat in the middle of the room, she pulled out her notebook. The workshop facilitator, Lisa, began the session by encouraging everyone to share their goals and aspirations. One by one, women spoke, their voices resonating with dreams, fears, and victories. It was both invigorating and intimidating. They each owned their narrative, revealing vulnerabilities infused with wisdom. When her turn came, Sarah hesitated, her heart racing. Gathering her breath, she stood and locked eyes with those around her. I'm Sarah, and I'm collaborating with a friend on a cooking class called Snack Attack. My goal is to create an experience that connects families not just through food, but through stories we share over meals. The moment felt both vulnerable and exhilarating. She could feel a shift. Presenting herself honestly had a profound effect. Applause erupted, and she saw empathy reflected in several smiling faces. The atmosphere felt lighter, and Sarah realized she had laid a foundation not only of confidence, but of solidarity. As the workshop progressed, exercises prompted each woman to confront specific fears: fear of failure, fear of judgment. Sarah struggled with her own doubts, reliving moments where her confidence had faltered. Yet, with each discussion, breakthroughs unfolded, revealing shared experiences that resonated profoundly. Listening intently to others talk about overcoming their own barriers, she found herself entranced by their journeys. In what felt like an empowering revelation, Sarah recognized how complex fear could be. It was not a solitary experience. Each woman, no matter their success, had wrestled with something profound: self-worth, societal expectations, personal challenges. These discussions ignited a flicker of determination within her, one that pushed her to redefine her own journey. By the time they transitioned to a practical session, the energy in the room had shifted. Sarah felt emboldened as she paired up with another participant. They began to cook, laughter bubbling over the aroma of skillfully prepared dishes. Sarah's mind whirred with ideas for their classes, infused with inspiration from the workshop. Yet just as she began to feel a surge of elation, an unexpected twist arrived. A woman from the corner of the room, who had remained stoic throughout the session, approached Sarah and bluntly questioned her vision. "What makes you think your classes will connect with families more than what's already out there?" Her piercing gaze held a challenge, urging Sarah to confront an essential question. The room fell silent as Sarah prepared to respond, the weight of this inquiry pressing against her burgeoning confidence. Would she crumble or rise? This pivotal moment teetered on the brink of opportunity or fear, leaving Sarah hanging in the balance. Gil stared at Sarah with unwavering intensity, her words echoing in the heavy air. It wasn't just a question. It was a gauntlet thrown at her feet, one demanding she defend her vision. The silence felt like a chasm stretching out, pressing down on Sarah's chest as she swallowed hard. Would she expose her uncertainty or embrace the momentum of what she had just shared? Taking the plunge, she squared her shoulders. Because it's not just about teaching recipes. It's about the conversations that happen over food, the bonds that are built while trying something new together in the kitchen. Sarah could feel the tremor in her voice, but pressed onward. "I am offering a space where families can reconnect and share their own stories, not just cook." Gil's expression shifted subtly, yet the skepticism lingered like a fog in the air. "That's a nice concept, but concepts alone don't inspire change. How will you implement this? What will differentiate your classes from the barriers that already exist?" The challenge ignited something within Sarah. It struck a chord, forcing her to reconsider the essence of her offering. She envisioned families gathering, hands rolling dough as laughter echoed off kitchen walls, children engaged and excited. The idea was compelling, but realizing it required more than just good intentions. "I want to develop a curriculum that combines culinary skills with storytelling. Each lesson could revolve around a theme that connects to personal history or cultural heritage. It can be interactive, engaging all members, not just instructors imparting knowledge," she articulated, her own conviction surprising her. As she spoke, a spark fueled her confidence, illuminating her vision with increasing clarity. Another participant chimed in, "That sounds promising. But how will you market this effectively?" The room buzzed with curiosity, the narrative shifting towards support rather than criticism. Questions now felt like invitations, and Sarah, sensing the energy, took a deep breath. "I envision partnerships with local schools and community centers, showcasing the importance of family meals through events, and utilizing social media to create a buzz, sharing snippets of our cooking sessions and the stories linked to them." Her thoughts flowed freely now, like a river cutting through stone, shaping purpose. Emboldened by each word and intrigued whispers surrounding her, she felt the veil of doubt slowly lifting. With Gil's earlier challenge reframed, it had transformed from a crippling hurdle into a stepping stone for growth. No more just an idea swirling in her mind. Sarah was beginning to grasp the tangible steps required to make it concrete. As the practical session resumed, she moved through the task of preparing an exquisite appetizer alongside her partner. Each chop and stir acted as a metaphor for her journey, deliberate, requiring focus, and at times a bit messy but ultimately rewarding. But as laughter filled the air combined with the rich aroma of spices, Gil's question lingered. How would she sustain this momentum when faced with inevitable setbacks or when the novelty wore off? "I can't just hope for success. I need to plan for it," Sarah reflected, realizing the shift from a passive hope to active engagement in her growth was imperative while crafting a unique identity for her classes. As the workshop concluded, She felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not merely from addressing the challenge, but from formulation within her a vision she could actually call her own. Yet, beneath the surface, an undercurrent of apprehension rolled. She knew that as she stepped forward, it wouldn't just be her abilities on the line, but also her belief in herself. With a determined heart, she prepared to confront the challenges ahead, ready to embrace the potential for further growth. But as she gathered her notes, the shadows of doubt crept in again, nagging at her core. How far could her vision extend before she faltered? As she made her way toward the exit, a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. "Sarah, before you leave, I need to talk to you. Let us discuss that idea further." Turning slowly, she realized the opportunity to either harness or lose her focus was about to present itself, shaking her resolve to its very foundations. Sarah turned, her heart quickening as she faced the speaker. Clara, a fellow workshop participant, had always been enthusiastic about culinary ventures. But today, there was a spark of urgency in her eyes, a reminder that the path ahead was filled with both promise and peril. "What do you want to discuss?" Sarah asked, her voice reflecting a mixture of curiosity and wariness. Clara leaned in slightly, lowering her tone as though the vibrant workshop buzz might overhear them. "I've been thinking about what you said earlier. Your concept has depth, but it needs to evolve. What if we work together? I've got some connections with local farmers and markets. They're looking for innovative ways to promote fresh produce." The suggestion spun in Sarah's mind, a whirlpool of excitement and fear. Collaboration could amplify her vision, but it also opened doors to greater scrutiny and expectations. "That sounds interesting," she replied cautiously. "But how do you see us collaborating? I mean, I have my vision, and I don't want to lose it in the process." Clara nodded, understanding the delicacy of the situation. "Here's what I'm thinking. We could host community cooking sessions that showcase seasonal produce, incorporating storytelling elements like you mentioned. Family recipes from various cultures could be highlighted to bring authentic engagement." Sarah felt a pulse of intrigue. The more Clara spoke, the clearer her own vision became. She began to recognize the power of collaboration as a tool for expansion rather than dilution. But with each affirmative thought, a flicker of doubt fought back. Would community involvement shift the focus away from her original intent of fostering deeper family bonds? "I appreciate your input," Sarah said slowly, "but I have to consider how this fits into my overall mission. It's crucial that our classes remain centered on storytelling and connection, not just culinary education." Clara smiled, sensing Sarah's hesitance, but also the burgeoning passion beneath. "That's the beauty of it. We can create a structure that keeps storytelling at the forefront. Perhaps dedicate a portion of each session to the family histories behind the recipes we're cooking. Each dish could open a window into the past." Confidence ebbed back into Sarah. Clara's ideas didn't threaten her vision. They expanded it, breathing life into realms she hadn't considered. "You're right," Sarah admitted, her voice growing steadier. "This could create a platform for families to share not just recipes, but also their legacies." But what about the marketing element that had hung in the air earlier? Clara's ideas also seemed to dance around practical implementation, a step Sarah realized was critical. "What do you think about creating a workshop series to pilot this idea? If it resonates, we could attract more participants while also evaluating how it evolves." Clara's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "Exactly. We could gather feedback after each session, refining as we go, ensuring that we stay true to your vision while integrating new voices." A plan began to form in Sarah's mind, but a sudden wave of anxiety washed over her again. She didn't just want to mold her vision based on logistics and feedback. She wanted it to resonate profoundly with everyone involved. What if the sessions took on a life of their own, straying from the core principle of fostering connections? As they spoke, Sarah realized that she was standing at a crossroads between her growing ambition and the fear of potential failure. Collaborating could serve as a catalyst for rapid growth, but it could also expose her vulnerabilities. "Clara, I need to think about this," she said finally, backing away slightly to create some space. "I want to ensure I'm moving in a direction that feels authentic to me." "Of course. Take your time," Clara encouraged, sensing the tension in Sarah's voice. "It's essential that you feel grounded in this process. I'll be here whenever you're ready to take that leap." Walking away from the conversation, Sarah felt the tension begin to simmer down, but uncertainty still clung like an unwanted shadow. Was it time to merge her vision with collaboration? Could she maintain her focus while embracing new ideas? As she stepped out into the cool evening air, thoughts churned in her mind, vivid and chaotic. Her path seemed uncertain, yet a sense of urgency propelled her forward. What would her next steps be? And, most importantly, was she ready to step into the unknown? She paused mid-stride, deciding to take a moment to reflect before reaching out to Clara again. The next phase of her journey loomed ahead, tinged with a weighty question. Was she truly ready to face the challenges of collaboration, or would she retreat into the safety of her singular vision? Sarah stood at the edge of a new chapter in her life, the sun casting a golden hue as it dipped low on the horizon. She had come a long way from the exhausted single mother struggling to manage her health, finances, and the rebellious spirit of her daughter. Throughout this journey, she had learned that transformation was not merely about diet or business ventures. It was also about embracing the complexities within herself and her relationships. After wrestling with her thoughts surrounding Clara's proposal, clarity began to filter through the noise of her apprehension. She realized collaboration didn't have to dilute her vision. It could enhance it. Opening the door to other voices provided an opportunity for growth, not just for her venture, but also for the connection she sought to build with her daughter, Emma. In the following days, Sarah embraced the momentum that had gathered from her conversations with Clara. Crafting a plan for their collaborative cooking sessions, she felt energized and empowered for the first time in years. They would infuse storytelling into the heart of each class, ensuring that every dish made would be steeped in memories that resonated with shared experiences. Sarah now saw how her journey to reclaim her strength could intertwine with the aspirations of others. Before each session, the connection with Emma deepened. Over time, their initial awkwardness transformed into a comforting companionship. They laughed as they experimented with recipes, finding that cooking together bridged their generational gap. Their newly launched weekly class, Snack Attack with Emma and Sarah, quickly grew more than just an avenue for health. It became a place where they collectively forged deeper familial ties. One evening after a particularly lively session, Emma's genuine curiosity emerged once more. "Mom, I'm actually enjoying this. It feels different. Like, we're creating something real here," she admitted, wiping flour off her hands. Sarah felt warmth sweep through her, realizing she had transcended a mere health trend to foster a rich familial experience. Yet, as their classes flourished, financial pressures still loomed. Rather than crumbling beneath the weight of those concerns, Sarah once again harnessed the community spirit. She and Clara brainstormed creative financing plans, engaging local businesses to sponsor their sessions. Witnessing their dream evolve into a supportive network filled Sarah with a solid sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. With each passing week, they secured a growing number of participants, drawing families in with the promise of fun and connection. Their collective success resonated through Sarah's core. This was what she had longed for, a meaningful purpose that extended beyond food. The culmination of their venture arrived as Sarah prepared for an invited speaking opportunity at a local community center. As she stood before an audience eager to hear about her journey, she felt the weight of transformation settle around her. The once timid woman haunted by self-doubt now commanded the room, showcasing not only her culinary skills, but also her newfound confidence. Emma stood proudly in the audience, and for a brief moment, their eyes met a silent promise exchanged between mother and daughter, a bond that had strengthened through struggles. "Today, I want to share the importance of connection," Sarah began, meticulously weaving her story into the presentation. "Food can mean more than nourishment. It can cultivate love, history, and family bonds. Let us reclaim our kitchens as spaces not just for sustenance, but for connection." As applause echoed through the room, Sarah felt a rush of joy uplift her spirit. She had not only redefined her purpose, she had conquered the unease that had burdened her. The woman who stepped onto that stage was no longer invisible in the background. She was a beacon of strength, recognized not just by herself, but by her community. Later, as fortunes began to stabilize, Sarah embraced her transformation fully, understanding her worth and the power of forging connections. Her collaboration with Clara reached unprecedented heights, And with Emma by her side, they continued to create a legacy of love through healthy eating and storytelling. With a distinct sense of pride, Sarah realized that through the challenges she encountered, she had forged something far beyond her expectations. She was now a confident businesswoman, a nurturing mother, and an advocate for change within her community, a profound transformation marking her journey. Now, it's time for you to take a step toward your own transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that could inspire your journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for authentic personal stories. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. What have you learned from Sarah's journey? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who may need to see this conclusion and inspire them to take their next steps, because they deserve to grow too. Don't wait even one more second. Embrace your own journey today.